We're in the final day of the college football season as tonight the Indiana Hoosiers attempt to finish off an incredible story taking on the Miami Hurricanes in Hard Rock Stadium for the College Football Playoff National Championship. What does it mean? Who's going to get the job done tonight? And we'll have to talk about a failed proposal by the SEC and Big Ten to agree on a format expanding the playoffs further, moving forward to 16 teams. How's it going to go? Hey, it's Big Monday, the last day of the college football season. Let's get after it. Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. Not going to have Big Mike Boganowski with us today, I don't believe. I'm going to send him a link here in just a second, just in case he might be able to pop in. But if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome to the show, everybody. My Gun Sweetness, Crucifix Autumn, True Okie. What's up, everybody? What's up? Where the hell is everybody else? What are y'all up to? Good to see everybody in here this morning. Final day of the college football season. The Indiana Hoosiers, unlikely as they may be, taking on the Miami Hurricanes tonight in the College Football Playoff National Championship game down in Miami. It's a home game for the Canes. We're going to see if they can go ahead and pull this off for Indiana. Look, I got to be honest with you. The more I'm watching this thing, it just seems like it's I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. To me, I feel like it's becoming such a foregone conclusion in the minds of a lot of people. It kind of feels like one of those times that you're going to see the national championship go the other way. Anytime that it's just guaranteed it's going to go one way, it always seems to go the other way. Hey, look there. There's old Seawalt. What up, boss? Almost not morning here. Yeah, I got a late start this morning. I apologize to everybody for not being here a little earlier. It's a freezing bitch out here in Oklahoma. And I was having issues with the Starlink for some reason or another. So it took me till about 15 minutes ago to get that thing up and running right. But yeah, it's been wild out here on the plains. Got to roll with the Canes, but wouldn't be mad seeing Indiana win. I would be mad seeing Indiana win just because I'm sick of this entire conversation about the Big Ten and its superiority. But listen, you can't deny that this has been, for all intents and purposes, it has been a masterclass in how to put together a football team and play the game at a level that it's just really hard to see them losing playing the way that they have. Fantastic defense, running the ball. We have 50-plus rushes against Alabama. I think they were pretty damn close to that again against Oregon in another blowout. They're just, total efficiency on both sides of the football. Physicality, they just whip your ass up front. Here's the thing. Miami actually, in this situation, Miami is the team that, we talk about styles making fights. And I look at this as an opportunity for, you've got a real, pardon me. I think that Miami has a real opportunity here because they play a physical brand of football as well, right? Um, really physical brand. So the way I have to look at it is if they can get in there, run the football, and do the things that we know that this is what Indiana likes to do as well. But really, if you're Miami, you have to try to do the best that you possibly can to limit any mistakes that you could get from one Carson Beck. The best thing to do in order to limit those mistakes is establish your running game and get out there and be able to get that done, right? How to put on yeah, dude. Yeah, no doubt. And it's not even fitting what they're gonna do as much, Seawalt, as it is that you're looking at this is just a bunch of dudes that have played a lot of freaking football, right? And if you've paid attention to the last two national champions coming into this, Michigan and Ohio State, both of these programs were heavy on guys that have played a lot of ball. You know, you've got a lot of experience, just tons of experience. They've paid to retain. I think that this in the portal time, what you're finding is that you do better to retain the guys that you have. I think that if you're Oklahoma, you know, like so Oklahoma, we're looking at this as look, they retained a lot of guys. I don't know that they retained all the right dudes, but defensively, you wanted to make sure that you could get a guy like Kip Lewis to come back, Stoney coming back, David Stone, obviously Jaden Jackson. That's the cornerstone of that front seven, those three guys. You've also got Taylor Wine coming back, of course, you know, and some of the younger guys that are going to really kind of make their mark. They added some guys in the portal without a doubt, but you've got to have those dudes coming back. And with Indiana, now look at them. They played the portal game very well. They finished off the opening for the portal. So far, they're still number one and kind of going away just and making strategic adds to their football team for the next year. Um, you know, you kind of look at that as is this, you know, you got to have guys that have experience though. And when you look at this Indiana football team, they definitely have that. It's not a bunch of dudes that have that 5-star pedigree or anything like that. I think you guys all know how I feel about that. That's not as big of an issue as it once was because you can't keep those guys around. So now if you know in lieu of not having that, you know, kind of deal going on to where you can stack teams with 4 and 5-star guys for years in advance. The old Nick Saban model, the Clemson model, you might say, of being able to say, yeah, we've got our guys, we've got our position set up for the next 3 or 4 years going because you can't transfer. Now with the portal and NIL, it definitely has evened things out. And it allows these guys to get out there and play at an earlier time. Now, with that, means that if you can go and find those guys that have played a lot of football, then you're going to be in a fortunate situation, as you're seeing with Indiana. Do I think that overall that they're as good as that they should just, you know, I think the last time I looked at the line, it was like 9.5. If I'm, let me look at it real quick on my bookie. Hey, Mom, welcome into the show. The Hammer, welcome into the show. Brandon Snake, my guy. Good morning, Mother. My good sweetness. What's up? What's up? What's up? Good to see you guys. Cherokee says, I think this game will be determined who sets the tone early as well as handle the body blows without taking the KO shot. Correct. So when I was talking to Bishop Frank last night, and we were talking a little bit about who's going to blink because they like to play the same kind of ball. I mean, again, styles make fights, but if you look at this Miami football team, they're prepared to play the kind of game, that fight in a phone booth type of football game that you're going to get with Indiana. We're gonna win or lose this game in the trenches, right? So what we've got, it's down to 7.5 is the spread. Miami getting 7.5. Remember though, this is a home game. I think that hell, if you could, if getting Indiana with 9.5 was one thing, I think right now you're playing with house money to have the Hurricanes plus 264 on the money line on my bookie. And by the way, if you're not, my bookie is the presenting sponsor for this program this morning. Make sure you get over there, take advantage of your up to $1,000 initial deposit bonus at hofmedia.us/my-bookie. That's hofmedia.us/my-bookie. But yeah, 7.5, 264 on the money line. The over-under is set at 47.5. I almost feel like that's too. I think this is a 30-27 kind of game. I mean, I guess it could slow down and turn into a snail's crawl. But I think it's going to come down to which one of these quarterbacks is going to step up and make a play. Now that obviously you would have to believe that's going to be the Hoosiers as well. There's a reason why they're favored, because if you look at what you've gotten from Fernando Mendoza, he's only got 5 incompletions in this entire playoff. He's got 6 touchdown passes. Two incompletions before coming out of the Alabama game, the Rose Bowl. He only had 3 incompletions in their last game against Oregon. That's 5 total incompletions, no interceptions, no turnovers. He almost had a turnover in the Oregon game, was able to grab his own fumble and complete a pass after that. Go figure. I would just tell you, this is one of them games that it definitely favors them. But here's the deal. You haven't seen a bunch of mistakes from Carson Beck. He did throw an interception in the game against Ole Miss. They continued to go back to the run. And, again, what Miami did in that Ole Miss game was pretty much take the air out of the football in the entire first half. They made Ole Miss play them straight up. Ole Miss struggled tackling, which meant they struggled to get their offense going as well because they just weren't on the field much. In the second half, it was kind of a race to see who was going to have the ball last. And, I think Ole Miss kind of ran out of time in that one. But the truth is, if they'd have just been able to, they couldn't stop the run. Which one of these teams is going to be able to stop the run? Because they both like to do it. 1 hour away from heading down to the game. My man, I'm excited for you, brother. Yeah, you said you got it. You're in one of the suites. What a deal, bro. What a deal. Well, good luck to your guys, my guy. I'm actually, it's tough for me to pull for Miami, but I'm doing it tonight. I'd like to see them pull it out, man. That's awesome stuff. Let's see. Snake says rolling with the Hoosiers. Yep, down to 7.5. On 3 early 26 top 10 OU 10th. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think an early indicator of how this game will go will be at the kind of pressure Miami's D-line can get. Well, and that's where, as good as I think that they've been on the defensive line at Indiana, that's where if Miami has an advantage anywhere, it's their D-line against the offensive line of the Hoosiers. And I think, honestly, their offensive line against the D-line of the Hoosiers. I don't think that, my opinion, as good as they are in the trenches at Indiana, I don't think they're as good as they are at Miami. I don't. Now, I would say that there might be a little more depth on the defensive line because they just don't go real deep at Miami. They don't like to get out of their front four. They like to keep those guys going. I think that at times you've kind of seen them get worn out a little bit. I saw that when they lost the game to Louisville. It seemed like their down linemen were definitely kind of running out of gas. It looked like they were running out of gas a little bit in the game against in that Ohio State game for a while, but then they kind of got that resurgence in the second half and were able to do it. Here's the one thing, and that's the other indicator to me. When you look at Indiana, they won the game 13-10 against Ohio State, but Miami kind of had their way with the Buckeyes. right? And I know you can't. It's not an apples to apples comparison or anything like that. But in view of the fact that they both like to play the same way, you have to look at that as an indicator. I do think that this is not as set in stone as a lot of people make it look. Now, if they allow Fernando Mendoza to sit back there and have time to pat the baby and do all that stuff, if they're able to run the football if they're able to run the football and keep the chains moving that way, I don't think you can touch them. I don't think you can touch them. But if they can stop the run and get pressure on Mendoza, and because you've got to do it, you've got to find a way to make him not be so damn efficient. Because if you don't, it's what we talked about last week. If you don't, you have to expect that somebody's going to make a mistake, and it's probably going to be Miami because Fernando doesn't make mistakes because he doesn't get pressured a whole lot. If you can put pressure on him and force him into one, you got a chance. If you don't, you have to know that at some point they're going to force you into a mistake. And when you hand them a gift, what do I say that they do with it? They bludgeon your ass over the head with it. Indiana will bludgeon you to death if you hand them freebies. Don't do it. I think it's a great matchup, though. I really do. I think it's a great matchup. What's up, Satterfield? My guy. Segoy? Does it look like I'm telling the scary stories? Man, I'm trying to do the whole. It's just that the lighting has been kind of weird in here. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm telling scary stories. Okay, well, I'm trying to get away from it so it's not as much where it's like underneath me, but I don't know, man. That's some funny shit though. Dick. Let's see. I think Miami pulls this out at some point. If coaching is equal, the more talented players win. Is coaching equal, Savoy? I don't know that that's the case. The coaching is not equal. There you go, Dave. I always knew Jason loves the ACC. No, he doesn't. Not a fan. Anyone else getting sick of refs influencing and or determining games at the NCAA and NFL level? The officiating all around football in general is trash, man. We know it sucks in the SEC. It sucked back in the Big Ten or the Big 12. I mean, I think it sucks at the Big Ten and the ACC as well. I like the ACC's. Here we go with praising the ACC again, but I do like the way that the ACC is transparent in what they're doing when they are reviewing plays and stuff like that. I like being able to hear that. I think that they should adopt that all the way around. What's up there? What's up there, Benji? My guy. Yeah, that's and you listen. It's a home game, and you know this is one of those games that you can expect Miami to actually be having a home field advantage because they're going to show up for this one. I mean, it's the national championship game. If you're not going to show up for this one, you're not going to show up. You never know, man. What up there, Dwayne? Hey, man, thank you. Yeah, listen, appreciate that. As Dwayne said, I hope you guys got over there and checked out the first edition of the SEC Gauntlet with me and Coach Marcus Dent of the Gridiron of 365 Gridiron Insight, Ole Miss 365. Man, we talked a lot about quite a few things, basically what that show is going to entail and what we're going to do over the season, next season, and leading up into the season. But excited about that new show, man. We're going to be doing it twice a week. Moving forward, that will be a live stream on Sunday nights. So Sunday nights at 7 p.m., we're going to be going live. Will Marcus and myself. It's all SEC. We're going to be, once the season gets here, obviously you'll be breaking down the week that was in the SEC. And then on Thursdays, you'll be kind of previewing what's coming up. But, you know, I'm going to be going from week to week to a game of what we render as the game of the week. If you haven't gone over there and checked it out, make sure you do. It's right here on this channel, the SEC Gauntlet. You can also find it on Gridiron Insight. and Ole Miss 365 as well. Make sure you guys get over there and check that out. Thought it was a really good. I thought we had a really good show as well. Thank you for that, Dwayne. It was good stuff, man. What's up there, Benji? Forgot it was Monday. Still in the Sunday mindset. Did your team? Aren't you a Steelers fan? Like my mother? She hadn't been happy for the week. What do you guys think about uh, a new coach in Pittsburgh? That's pretty wild. Is it dicks? Tony's going to be a big factor tonight. I agree. Yeah. They have, man. They have. Should definitely. I don't know, man. It's a good question. I know that one of the things that I was going to bring up, Trinidad Chambliss on Friday um, filed an injunction asking the Mississippi court to allow him to play college football in the 2026 season. Chambliss' petition filed in Lafayette County Chancery Court argues that Chambliss should not have been denied a waiver last week that would have granted him an extra year. The NCAA had, of course, denied his request for a 6-year of eligibility. He was a redshirt as a freshman at Division II Ferris State in 2021 and spent 2022, 23, and 24 on the roster before playing this past season at Ole Miss. They obviously won a national championship, I believe, at least one while he was at Ferris. But the other thing, one thing you got to remember is that 2021 was a COVID year. So it almost feels like they're gonna have to do it. And again, we talk about every time that they kind of come around to these. Let's see, if I don't leave that light on, it don't look right. The review is the worst part of the game, and hearing what they're talking about makes it exciting. Can't believe every level isn't doing it. Absolutely. At least you can, like, if you disagree with it or whatever, it's one thing, but like at least you can hear why they feel the way they feel about it. I mean, it feels like, it makes sense. But it's going back to Chambliss. They what they're saying here on Yahoo Sports is that the case differs from most other NCAA eligibility actions in that it was filed in the state court on contractual grounds rather than in federal court on antitrust grounds. The NCAA has been more successful defending eligibility cases in federal court. They've fared poorly in cases involving player compensation, though. And that's definitely going to be part of it. Again, the NCAA has been struggling with most court cases, whether, state or not. But they're going to try to use a home field advantage here, obviously. I would say that, again, it's a preliminary injunction. It would keep the NCAA from enforcing it. They don't even really have to get them to say it's okay, and they can push that back long enough for him to play the year, and I think that that's what they're kind of looking at. Whether or not he should or shouldn't play, it is what it is. And the illness, from what I understand, he actually has, some serious problems with like asthma and stuff like that. So what he was talking about, in the tweet that I saw there, the documents, they were saying the documents provided included a physician's note saying that he did very well. It was so weird. Injury reports or medical conditions. Let's see. The student athlete's prior school indicated it had no documentation on medical treatment, injury reports, or medical conditions. So they didn't have enough information to really do on it. It sounds like they're gonna be providing more information from what I can tell. And that, of course, Marcus Dent was talking about that when we talked yesterday, that it felt like they have more information to leave and to give them for him to be able to stay. I would expect him to be back. DJ Lagway signs with Baylor about a week after first committing. So he'll be with the Bears this year. He had kept his options open, but he is going to go ahead and make that signing. That means he's probably somewhere in that neighborhood of $3 to $4 million. Even after a year in which he had 16 touchdowns, which was better than somebody in Norman, 213 of 337 passing for 2264, but he had 16 and 14. Not a great season for those guys. And honestly, I think that he's been injured for since he was injured from the time he got to Gainesville. So pretty wild the way that they went about that. They're definitely going to have to get better. I think under Aranda went 5-7 this past season. Man, it's just pretty wild the way they're doing things. Let's see what else we got. Oh, okay. Surgery tomorrow. Cherokee, what are you having surgery on, my man? Andrew, good to see you, man. Yeah, let me add some light to this picture. Right back. Just real quick. I'll be right back. Are you tired of your game day gear looking like it's stuck in the offseason? Well, step up your fandom with Hall of Fame College Football's official Fanatics partner store. Whether you're a diehard Oklahoma Sooners fan like myself, bleeding crimson and cream, or you rep another one of the SEC's heavy hitters, Fanatics has you covered. Shop thousands of officially licensed hats, jerseys, sideline polos, and exclusive championship merch from the entire Power 4 and Group of 6 too. All shipped directly to your doorstep and fast. Want to gear up like your favorite coaches and players? Are you looking for that perfect tailgate tee or a statement piece for your man cave? Fanatics is your one-stop shop for authentic college football gear from everybody that plays the game. So do yourself and your team a favor. Click our link in the description or simply log on to hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. And you can shop everything that you want for the best prices of the day right on our Fanatics partner page. All right. A little better? I don't know. I can't tell. It still looks like I'm being, but if I do this, it doesn't look good at all. So, got to do it. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. I know you are, Non. Yeah, it should already be there. And guys, I know a lot of people were talking about that they didn't get a notification yesterday. It was a recording, so I don't know. It should have given you a notification because I had it scheduled. I mean, it was done and ready to go yesterday morning, but we scheduled it for 7:00. You should have gotten some kind of notification. You let me know what you got. But if you haven't hit the notification bell or whatever on the channel, make sure that you do that because as things kind of change over this offseason and there are some plans for different stuff. Coach and I are not together anymore doing that Tuesday night show. So don't be expecting that Tuesday. I'm going to probably still do something on Tuesday nights, but we may be replaced with what we're doing on the Gauntlet now. I'm not exactly sure. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. But as far as the rest of that, no, make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell. Freaking OU fans, why are y'all turning on Aaliyah Chavis? We are not turning on Aaliyah Chavis. Shut up, bro. She's a freshman. That's not. If people are turning on her, they're idiots. I got a note, Mr. Cotter. What's up there, Liberty Bibbity? That's nutty. I think at some point it's kind of run its course a little bit with him, right? 20 years essentially with them. I mean, and look, we know the Steelers are patient, but at some point, I think I mean, maybe it was time. Maybe it was time for a new voice. On your way to the Rock, go Canes. Enjoy the game, everybody. Hey, enjoy the game yourself, my guy. Good luck to you guys. We'll talk to you whenever you get back or hit us up. Maybe we'll do a post game stream tonight, man. Hit us up on the way back if everything goes good. Hawkins Lagway battle will be fun game to watch if they play next year. I'm not sure if they do or not. That's a good call. That's a good call. I like that. What do you think about the CU or are you saying OU? I'm all late. The SEC Gauntlet. Yeah, that's the new show that Marcus and I are doing. Marcus and I are going to be doing it together throughout the year. But I mean, it's essentially. I mean, look, I'm kind of moving to more of a full-on SEC model than just covering Oklahoma. I mean, obviously, I'm an Oklahoma guy, but going to be going to the game of the week every week in the SEC, so won't just be covering Oklahoma. I'm excited about it, man. I'm actually really excited about what that could turn into. Doing a lot of different stuff, man. Should be fun. I did receive a notice on Sunday and was able to watch the Gauntlet. Cool. Thank you, man. Good, good, good. When he hired Matt Canada and it went horrible, then the guy doubled down on Matt for another season. I was like through with Tomlin. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, okay. Coach Prime's team. So you were asking what do I think about who they're getting? I mean, to be honest with you, I hadn't paid as much attention to what they've been doing. I know that they lost some guys, but I know that they've got to figure out a way to do two things at Colorado. You got to run the damn ball, similar to what we talk about with Oklahoma football, but you're going to have to play better defense, and they haven't done that. Aside from with Hunter, Travis Hunter was able to like kind of be a one man lockdown show in the Big 12 and get them to where he got them to go and obviously winning that Heisman. But they haven't been good on the defensive side of the ball, and that's what Coach Prime did was play defense. So they got to figure it out. Their offensive line play hasn't been good enough to where they can run the ball. And one thing's for sure, they didn't have Shedeur Sanders anymore this past year, and it bit them in the ass. Now, I've seen that they have definitely, they had. We can go back through and look at the portal rankings and stuff. My guess is that like, let's see, team rankings. Take a look. Number 24, picking up 40 guys and losing 34. I mean, it's a little improvement on as far as their average player rating, but you know, it looks like they definitely are working on that defensive side of the ball. Ryan Staub leaving is what I mean. They lost pretty much most of all their quarterbacks, right? Let's see, who did they end up bringing in? Good question. Let's look at this. Jaden Hardy was, that was a big pickup for them. And good for him, man. He's going somewhere. And look, it looks like they are definitely making a move towards playing better defense. That guy from I don't even know how to say his name. The dude from San Jose State, Vili Tafatuafa. That ain't right. That can't be right. Brandon Fontenette. I mean, yeah, they did. D-line, that Cedric Smith kid. I'm not seeing a added quarterback here. What's going on with quarterback? Who did they get? Isaac Wilson. Oh. Huh. He could be good. He could be good. He kind of, I mean, he's young. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. They did go heavy on the defensive side as well. DeAndre Moore picked him up. That was big. The offensive line looks like they're trying to shore that up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know, man. I look. Here's the thing. The one thing about Coach Prime and I've been a fan of his. I think that he's done a good job overall. I think that they moved the goalposts around a lot with him, but I think he also kind of brings that on himself, right? It feels like Coach Prime, he wants to do things his own way, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that on the face of it. But I think that when you go so far off the map of what anybody's done successfully and you're boastful about it, the way that they are, I think that you open yourself up for a lot of criticism, right? I just think you do. I think that that every year they've lost. I mean, every year they're sending out as many guys as they're bringing in, and I think without any kind of continuity, we just talked about Indiana earlier, and how it was very similar to what you saw at Ohio State last year and the year before with Michigan, where you had a lot of guys that had a lot of experience playing football, and that they retained a lot of guys that were experienced, and that has been the key to winning a national championship. I think if you look at, even if Miami wins this thing tonight, same thing. They've got an experienced football team that's been through a lot, right? Quarterback that's been, played in or didn't play, but he's part of two national championship teams, played two other seasons with at Georgia, and has an opportunity to go win one here. And I think that his ability to not throw another interception after he threw the early one against Ole Miss was key, in the second half of that game. I think me and Dave were laughing about that whenever we were watching it, right? That here comes another one, or you could end up with two or three more, right? But he didn't do that. So what I'm seeing with Colorado is that you're going to have to find some way to keep some continuity around. When they got really good from one year to the next in the Big 12 was obviously because they had Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, along with some other guys that were there with them for that first year as well. They had played quite a bit at Jackson State. Even though that was the level down, they took a step forward and they were able to kind of get it done. It just seems like they're quick to pull the plug on not only players, but what they're doing systematically. Um, I don't know, man. I'm not saying that I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think that he's got to find something and stick to it, and kind of that way. The way that we kind of talked about Oklahoma with their lack of an identity on the offensive side. I don't know that it feels like Colorado has an identity on either side of the football. The identity is that it's Coach Prime's team, but they don't. There's nothing that you can sit there and say that this is what they do well. Yeah, I don't know. Does that help? When you need hard assessments regarding college football, you tag me for the correct answers. Oh, please, bro. Come on. I'm not saying SEC, SEC. You know better than that. Hey, man, I'm just trying to grow. Just trying to grow the program, man. Ralphie runs more at CU than the whole team does in Boulder, no doubt. And that's only once a game. So I'm in a dilemma. My hate for Miami versus my hate for the Big Ten. If Indiana wins, these Big Ten ball gophers won't shut it up all season. But also can't stand Miami. Can't both lose. That would be cool. I'm kind of with you on that. Uh, yeah, I mean, kind of what you look, man. If you're either a fan of the U or you're not a fan of the U, though, that's the thing, and it's hard to be a fan of the U. Mm. What do you mean by isn't like that with NIL? Like they don't have enough of it? I think they have more money than they act like they do there. There's a lot of rich folks that live in, especially Boulder. Boulder's a rich, rich town, and Colorado as a whole isn't for poor folks. It's really just, I don't know. Uh huh. Oh yeah, yeah. So that's yeah. You're hearing a lot of stuff. Um, Hearing a lot of stuff about Gary Patterson to USC. Um, Makes you wonder what's going on with. Uh, Surprises me that haven't heard a bunch about what's his name from Texas getting the job because that was like a foregone conclusion, is everybody was saying, right? Yeah, no, we're not. I was awfully rough on him. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that. But no, we're not. Yeah, that's true. But the thing about Coach Prime is that he claims to be that they have the best way of doing NIL. Like, he talks about, first off, he's like, we're about NFL, not NIL, which is whatever. But they've done a really good job, I mean, of promoting their now he promotes himself. They've done a really good job of that. The Sanders promotion team is unreal. But so the NIL stuff, what NIL is really supposed to be, I think if you go there, they can help you with that tremendously, right? Um, I feel like they do a really good job with that. I just want to see them kind of like hone in on what it is that they're trying to do. Again, I'm not one of those prime haters. I'm not, but I'm also not one of the people that's just going to co-sign everything he does either. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, Rob. Uh, Lincoln with a guy like Gary Patterson could be kind of scary. Um, the thing is that what he does is he going to listen to a guy like Gary and say that's going to tell him, "Hey, we need you to do X, Y, Z to kind of help us out," and be more complimentary in the way that he runs things. He hasn't done it yet. He hasn't done it yet. Yeah, he did. He did. Just like he struggled. I wouldn't be surprised that like it felt like that. I don't know how Dave Aranda keeps getting away with these crap seasons that he's had. Which Benji, I seem to remember that you were high on Baylor this past year, and you're talking about how much you know, but they were not good. Just to remember, let's just remember that. Um, but I was surprised that they kept Aranda around again after another bad season. I figured he would have been another one of those guys that Lincoln would have jumped on because of the fact he's from there. He's from Southern California. Is Dave Aranda, and he's he shut his ass down. I mean, and he was in his bag against Caleb Williams when they did it. So anyway, guy literally benched his two starters, backup KBN and righted the ship, or completely took the game over. Yeah, Mary J. What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sometimes I get on football overload. Heck yeah, football overload's a good thing. It's the last day of the regular season. Who are you guys picking tonight? I mean, that's the question I got is who we going with? Um, I know a lot of people, if you don't like Miami, I can understand that, but who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win? There will be no Aranda slander. It's the year of the Mexican. What do you mean? You can't. Hey, you don't get to claim. You don't get to claim Fernando, man. They're Cubans, bro. They're Cubans, B. Cuban B. Would you take Lincoln Riley back if he was the OC and listen to BV? No. Let Slimy fucking stay where he is. And first off, I think that's such a stupid pipe dream, by the way. And I know that's not coming from you. A lot of Oklahoma fans, this conversation is had way too much on Twitter. We're not going to bother with that conversation here. It's stupid. It would never happen. Never happen. And so, yeah, this is like somebody was saying, why not just let go of BV and let him stay on as defensive coordinator and hire somebody else like Lincoln? Like, what? Not happening, bro. Not happening. Indiana. Let's see. Retire. Yeah, he's a score more points guy. Don't matter who the DC is if you won't protect his defense. That's what I've been saying for a long time as well. You look at some point, and I mean, here's the thing: when he was at Oklahoma, Coach Stoops made him figure out a way to run the football because they had Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon. And then after that, you saw what he did with guys like Kennedy Brooks. And I mean, look, they ran the ball. And that's why he became as respected as an offensive play caller as he did, is because of the fact that he was the guy that took the air raid and was able to turn it into a running offense and have the most success with it. You've seen Josh Heupel kind of take over that mantle as well recently. But if you go back and look at least the first 3 years for sure, I know USC when he was a 55-45 guy at Oklahoma, run to pass, 55% run and higher, at some points. But it's definitely switched back the other direction unless it was a Caleb Williams run or something like that in the past. So they definitely throw the football more now. He if you look at what I would guess that, I had not looking at the stats and, but my guess is that with Maiava and having Mekhi Lemon have the season he had, they were definitely focused on throwing the ball. I know that they struggled to run the ball at key times of the season when they could have won the game had they been able to tote the ball. Oh, and you see it all the time. The games that they lose, oftentimes they'll be ahead in them and they just can't hold the lead because if they ever, they get into that mode where they score fast or they go 3 and out fast. No matter what, if the game goes on for too long, you're going to wear your defense out and they're going to catch up. We saw Colorado almost come back from 21 down in that first year. It was the same type of deal. All they had to do was run the damn football. They didn't do it. And they had the guy, their running back, it was the guy that had transferred from South Carolina. The dude averaged like 9 yards a carry and was only getting 10 carries a game. It's unfucking real. That's silly talk. S4L. All would be forgiven my ass. They would never happen. I agree with that part. He's one of the best play callers. I've never said anything other than that. I think he's one of the best play callers, offensively speaking, as far as putting your defense in jeopardy and putting points on the board. The problem is when you become the head coach, you have to service both sides of the ball. And I'd say this with, this has been a conversation that I've been having a lot with certain people on the Oklahoma side of things, is that I'm not positive that we're not seeing the same thing go on just the opposite side with Oklahoma right now. That the defense is going to be really good, but the offense, we'll see. And it's not that they don't have talent on the offensive side. I think that there was a time that they had talent on the defensive side when Lincoln was there, but they're not doing the things that they have to do. I don't know that Ben Arbuckle is capable any more so than what Lincoln was of putting an offense out there that both is complementary and that puts points on the board and, does what you need him to do. Is, you're able to go out there and be efficient, like what we've seen from teams like Indiana and really Miami as well. He's recruited okay. Yeah, they ended up with the number one class. They lose a lot of guys, though, every year, too. They lose a lot of guys every year, so he benefited heavily on yes. Look, here's the thing about I would say he took the difference between Lincoln at Oklahoma and Lincoln at SC. SC was not in the shape that Oklahoma was in when he took it over. You realize he didn't have to hire a single staffer whenever he got the job. Not one. Not a single one. When he got to SC, yeah, he was able to bring, the Heisman quarterback with him and all that, and they did good that first year. But they didn't have the kind of runway that he had with Bob's team, where it was a well-oiled machine. All you had to do was keep it on the track. He's recruited okay, but he doesn't do a very good job of retaining. And man, it's just excuse after excuse with Lincoln. Oh, yeah. For that matter, I mean, as much as I love the Pirate, they never won anything of significance with Leach. He'd get close a couple of times here and there when he had really good offenses, but his defenses were never really that good. They just weren't. I mean, think about his biggest year, with Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree and those guys. I was covering Tech at the time, and I was there when they beat Texas. The very next week, they went to Oklahoma and got a mud hole stomped in them. DeMarco put his foot in their ass. And they couldn't keep from that happening. Whoa, 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 whoa. S4O. Bro, that's the kind of shit that makes me like put people in timeout. Better than Heupel? No fucking way you said that. Oh no. Bruh. What the hell's going on with you? Why? Just because he's been to 4 playoffs? He did it out of the Big 12. Nah, bro. That ain't it. That is not it. I saw the Pirate yell at a lady working for $7.50 an hour at Lowe's. That would not surprise me. S4O? Yeah. Even if you're saying as Oklahoma OC, I don't agree. That was right there. That was Bob's bad on that year. Look, that's the year that Venables went to Clemson. He brings back Mike. They decide that he needs to change his offense to better suit what they wanted to do in there and help their defense, right? They go out there and still put points on the board, but they go 8-5 because that defense was not as good. And he got scapegoated for that, bro. That is bullshit. I will tell you this. I think that Hype leaving was good for him. I think it was good for him. Because he went and learned some different things, not just being under Leach and the way that he liked to do things. What was it, Nevada that he went to, or Utah State, something like that. But then he ends up obviously going to UCF and doing what he did out there. I think it worked out really well for him. I think he's flourished. And I think he does a great job. He's a 10 times better head coach than Lincoln is, though. No. No, no, no. Yeah, he seemed like an asshat to you. He would look, he could be. I mean, listen, and I'll say before he passed away, that running back at Mississippi State, that a week before, now mind you, it was a week before he was talking about what a tough guy he was, and he was one of the guys that he respected the most. Then the next week, after the Egg Bowl that they had won, the guy goes into the portal. And he's talking about how he's just never been a tough dude. He's not tough. He doesn't handle things very well. It was a shit move. It was a shitty thing to do, hating on him on the way out the door. And I said something to him about it. And I love the Pirate. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed him. But he had his moments like that. And he would get way too big for him. I mean, his head got big at times. When they started winning at Tech, man, you tell you they do no wrong. He felt like he did no wrong. I like the season he was at Como. Yeah, hype. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not the only one that has the feelings that I have about John Mateer. I would tell you that you need to pay attention to what I'm saying though when it comes to that. And I guess I mean we can have this conversation, but the problem that I have with the biggest part is that look, it's not necessarily a John Mateer problem as much it is an Arbuckle problem. And quite honestly, this year it was a Brent Venables problem. You can't get so stuck on what's going on your defense that you don't take care of what your entire job is, which is to be the CEO of your football program. And that's what he does. And I would tell you, you should be able to trust Kevin Wilson, but Kevin Wilson's not in charge on that side of the ball. You should have put him in charge. And no matter what, you, as the head coach, you have the ability to decide who's going to be playing quarterback. He never made this change, never made the change last year, when he could have made the change multiple times. I was talking about this with Bishop Frank last night. Nick Saban changed quarterbacks at halftime of the national fucking championship game. Don't tell me you couldn't have done it at some point. They could have done it at any point last year. And I'm not saying it even had to have been a permanent move. Do something to win the game when you're not going to win it. All three losses it was poor play by Mateer that did it. All three. What's up, Bishop? Thank you for the super chat, sir. He has to be. You're absolutely right. He has to. Listen, man, I'm going to tell you this. Here's what I would tell you. I think that a lot of people think that he's safe. I think that safe is a relative term to the day in Oklahoma. Look, nothing is very safe. It takes one bad season or one bad game. And I'm going to tell you another thing. You go into this Red River game, and I got to tell you, you guys have heard me say this already. I'm not picking Oklahoma to beat Texas until they do it. And at the very least, he better score some fucking touchdowns. He's 1-3 against Texas, and in those 3 losses, 0 touchdowns. What I was saying is, if you are, and believe me, what it's starting to look like is he's the reverse of Lincoln. Lincoln was all offense, no defense. He's all defense, no offense. And I would tell you that, in my opinion, and the way I feel about it is this. Look, you've got an all-star cast of fucking coaches that have been with you forever. The only one that hasn't on that defensive side of the ball grown up with him as coaches and know exactly what he wants is Dreiling, and shit, he's good anyway, and he gets it anyway. Plus, you got Wes Goodwin. He doesn't have to. But you could trust those guys to the point that, like, my opinion is, I don't understand why, as you look at, everybody knows that BV is that dude when it comes to calling defenses. He's that dude. There's no arguing about it. Everybody knew they were going to be elite on defense now. They knew it. What are they? They're elite on defense. But because of how elite he is, why are you not sitting down with your very young offensive coordinator and being that CEO and self-scouting and saying, as a coordinator, looking at this is how I would attack it, and this is what you have, and this is what they're going to do. The good teams will come at you this way. What are you going to do to get around that? And not only that, you would help out your defense as well by doing those things, having these conversations with these offensive guys. And I don't know that it's not happening at all. I don't think it's happened. But I think it's what you have to have happen if you're Oklahoma. If you're going to take that next step, he's got to take that next step. He always talks about doing it's the hard things, and I talked about this with Seawalt. It's the hard things that winning requires. Doing the things that winning requires. You've heard that from him a ton. That's a Dabo thing that he adopted. Okay. Doing the things that winning requires is going to be, you cannot be indifferent to the offensive side of the football. The same standards that you want your defense to live up to day after day after day, you've got to live up to on the offensive side as well. Giving a 29-year-old offensive coordinator autonomy, silly shit. You can't do it. See, Johnny Boy, what's up, man? Bishop, MWG. Oh, well. The running backs were hurt in 2025. I am not giving you guys that. I'm not giving you guys that. And tell me why, Duke. Welcome to the show. Tell me why. Tell me why the offense will be better this season. Or are we just going with hope on that? Because hope is not a plan. We have a system returning. You want that system to return? Because that system got the one quarterback that you want to play hurt early on in the season, and he never played well after that. He had moments in games that he was... That defense and that kicker covered up a lot of things for Oklahoma last year. Okay. I think BV did take some steps as being a complete head coach. One step was firing Joe John, retooling the tight end room with inline blocking tight ends, having tight ends that can play at the SEC level was a step in the right direction. I'll give you that. Did BV do that, or was that Jim Nagy? And if so, what is it that are we sure that he's taking the step in the right direction? Because here's the thing: if this autonomy for a guy that doesn't seem to know what I mean, there was no commitment to running the football. Because if you're going to tell me that they couldn't run the ball, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. They ran the ball. They had running backs with 100 yards in 3 straight games, and then they stopped running the fucking ball. It goes right back to Mateer was feeling a little better, so now he's back to out there running and putting himself in danger. It's not a good. That's not a plan. It's not a commitment to a run game with your running backs, and I think that that's what you have to have. 19 carries in that last game, and you only had what 14 total for the two running backs. No. Especially when you got a 17-0 lead and you don't start leaning on those guys. Situational, the things that happen or whatever, and there's a lot of things that went wrong in that football game. But it was the same thing. All those losses, they failed to run the football. They failed to get it done. Quarterback returning, continuity with O-line running backs, and key pieces in the wide receiver room return. Verbiage and scheme returns. That matters. Trust me, I know. It may matter, but they were still, you can say that you said in the last thing you were saying, talking about Latrell. How much better were they than Latrell and his offense the year before? They weren't much better. They were still at the bottom of the damn SEC and essentially every statistical category on the offensive side. What this is pointing to is that there's not enough attention being put on it by your head coach. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, bro. And there were other dudes. If they actually had a commitment to the running game, maybe you don't end up having guys that want to leave. And I'm not going to sit, I said this to Bishop last night, I'm not going to sit here and have the Jaden Ott talk because I don't know what was going on with Jaden Ott. I don't know what happened there. And neither do you, by the way. We know that he got in somebody's doghouse. And maybe multiple people's doghouse. I've seen practice footage that tells me he was pretty good and just wasn't getting opportunities. He only had like 6 carries on the entire season. Maybe he was bad at practice, but I've seen footage that tells me that wasn't the case. So I don't really understand what was going on. The offensive line, no, sir. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. There was times that offensive line did just fine, and it was at the end of the year when they were run blocking. If you get them in a run blocking situation and they knew what they were doing, they were fine. They kept a clean pocket for Mateer, and he'd run out of them. You don't get to just blame the O-line whenever you feel like it. Come on, bro. I think that there's something going on with DeMarco and him. And I'm not going to sit there and do that either. Again, we don't know for sure everything that was going on. And we also know that coaches get in their ways about they like a dude, they don't like a dude or whatever. And I don't know that it was a DeMarco thing. I feel like it may have been an Arbuckle thing. I know that definitely he got on BV's bad side early. And maybe he wasn't. I'm just telling you that I'm not going to go there because I don't know for sure. And I know that nobody does really. If you weren't there, you don't really know. But I know this, they had opportunity. If he was the money that they spent, you should have found out. And I also know that Jim Nagy is expecting that they're paying this much money for these wide receivers to come. They're getting them both in high school and coming out of the portal. Jim Nagy expects those dudes to play. Elijah Thomas, Manny Choice. They've got the kid coming from, that flipped from Wisconsin, what's his name? Stud, right? We got a bunch of dudes that left this year because they haven't, and were never really, we didn't find out what they were about. Ivan Carry-On, dude, 6'7". Everything we saw from him is that he should have been a weapon. He should have been a weapon. It is sad, Duke. It is very sad that we haven't had that running game. Absolutely true. Right. Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. It's easy to go that direction. And that's why I'm just not ready to continue putting everything off on everybody else. And this is an absolute, fact. You know. Well, there you go. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And look, I think that the scheme is bad for what they were doing. I mean, you heard it from Teddy and Gabe all year. That like for what they were trying to do, you weren't going to run the ball well. Because you were depending on non-blocking tight ends, which I think Caden Helms did a better job. When he came back and finally got healthy, he was doing better at that. I think that Kanik got better at it, but it's just Kanik wasn't a tight end. He's not that big. It's not that he was afraid of contact. Hell, he liked it. But he just wasn't adept at it. He was a ball catching guy. And Caden Helms, for that matter, was as well. The guys that they brought in from the SCS level, they weren't good enough. They weren't good enough. I like the kid they got from Florida, the Rocky Beers kid as well. Look, I like who they're bringing in, obviously. And Jason Witten, he's going to make sure that you're blocking. He was a blocking guy. He was good at everything. Obviously, a Hall of Famer. And then Kevin Wilson's still there to kind of help that along as well. But the truth is, yeah, they were struggling when it came to tight end play. But if your scheme involves you being heavy in 11 and 12 personnel and you don't have the personnel to run that shit, then I struggle to believe in you as a coach. And when you don't, you want to be a heavy run with the quarterback guy and you're not running the quarterback that's better and more dynamic as a runner ever at all, even when you've got your other guys struggling, then I don't trust you. And it's not just that I don't trust Arbuckle. I also don't trust BV to make a change when it needs to be made. And I love BV. You guys know this. I'm a BV fan. I always have been. But I think that we're at a point, at a crossroads in his time at Oklahoma, that it's time for him to show that he's not just a one-trick pony. He must. And I'm going to tell you this, I believe that you missed out. We talk about Texas missing out on a golden opportunity 2 years ago and then even last year. I think you missed a golden opportunity to win a national championship. The best defense in the country was in Norman. They had enough talent on offense to be good, just to not, all you had to do was be serviceable and not do stupid shit, and you win. Even with that defense, you couldn't hold a 17-0 lead. Even with that defense shutting Texas down for 3 quarters, the better part of 3 quarters, you couldn't put any points on the board. You took a late lead in the 3rd quarter and never gave the football back to X-Rob. In the 4th quarter, I think he had 3 carries. Mateer had like 8. It's unfathomable to me that this is the situation that you put yourself in like that. You have to prove you're not a one. And look, put some attention on it, man. To me, if you're gonna fail, if Brent's gonna fail, he needs to fail showing that he's not indifferent to the shit. That's not necessarily that. Listen, Stephen G, I might allow you to get away with this one Except for the fact that how many times did we hear Buckles tell the running backs, you guys better run them in from far because when we get in the red zone, it's going to 10. Bullshit. Oh, they should have. They didn't. RPO is gimmicky. Yeah, I'll agree with you here. I think that can't be your base offense, man. It cannot be your base offense. This is what I mean. Look, I'm an air raid guy. I love the air raid, but I got to tell you, I don't know that you can win with the air raid in this league. Not without it, like what Heupel's done with it. He's got it's based on the air raid, but he's not. I mean, in name only, really. Hype does a really good job. I mean, he runs the fucking ball. You've seen him get under center and shit. Not much, but it happens. But I agree. I mean, Teddy said, what did Teddy say? Fired into the sun? I'm all for that. All for that. But here's the other thing I would tell you. Kurt Signetti runs the shit out of that RPO. If you make the right choice in it, it can work. And you can be physical with it because they are at Indiana. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Kevin. I couldn't have said it better myself. You must have said something else over here. Mm-hmm. Kevin, I was at the LSU game and I was hearing people all around me screaming, "Get him the fuck out!" You know, he almost threw a fourth interception. A lot of people don't remember that, but my mom was in there with me. I mean, it was. She was like, "Ooh, people are pissed." Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I mean, again, I'm not even saying that it had to like be a permanent situation. But show that you. I mean, look, if you really want to run the ball with your quarterback, why would you not be running the football with Michael Hawkins? Put him in those situations. The dude's sub 4.4 speed, explosive. Mateer's he's a decent runner. I mean, he's heady. He's at surprising you with it or whatever, but he's not gonna go for 60 unless you're against Temple or some shit. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yes, sir, man. I agree. Mendoza processes extremely quickly. Mateer does not, and he doesn't process correctly either. Quickly is one thing, but being correct is another. A lot of these things are pre-snap reads. I know that a lot of these defenses are sophisticated enough that they change whenever you change up what you're doing. Once they show you that and you adjust and they adjust too. And what I will say when it comes to Venables is the teams that they got beat by, and especially when you start looking at what uh, Alabama did to them the second time around, and what Ole Miss did was that they waited to come to the line until the comms are off. So they were only going to get that first, if they go to this, we're going to switch to this. Because then they could come in, see what they're going to move to, and then they could make an adjustment, and they're not going to be able to tell it to Kip or whatever, and in certain situations that don't matter anyway. But there was ways to kind of help with that way, even if you did, and a lot of that people were making that about them stealing signals and things like that. they've only had comms for a couple of years. He could still steal your signs, and he has. So I didn't really think of it as much about that. But I think that they did a good job of doing that because then, you don't really have time to switch another time after 15 seconds, right? You could time that out to where you could kind of catch them off guard. And I think that it did work sometimes. Yes, I agree with that. 12 personnel today, tomorrow, and forever. I love 12 personnel, but so does. I'll give Buckle this. He likes it too, but they don't have fucking 12 personnel last year. They just didn't have it. They didn't have the personnel to run 12 personnel. They did not. Look, and I'll say this. I think it was a mistake to play Mateer in the Red River. If you wanted to start him, okay, cool. It turned when Michael Taft knocked the shit out of him on what was like the third drive. He busted his ass up. That's when he starts bleeding. That's when he stopped. He was not as willing a runner at that point. But his hand was clearly still hurt. He was bleeding out of the wound, for that matter. Busting the stitches, rubbing it all over his white pants. I mean, it looked like a damn used tampon. It wasn't good. And they continued to, at that point, go with it. Look, he's ineffective. Get him out. They acted as if it wasn't even a consideration. Now we can sit here and say, well, it's that they didn't trust Hawkins. Bullshit. Bullshit, man. They didn't have to. And as long as BV wasn't going to make a move to that, again, I look at it as more of an indifference to that side on BV's part, and Buckle wasn't going to make the move. It was more important to him that his guy be the guy than it was to win. And I think that's shameful. And nobody's going to make me believe otherwise, by the way. That we saw early signs of that with Jaden O'Neal and Bo Bentley. The way that was handled. I got to have my guy. Okay. You already got this guy committed to you. He's higher ranked. Bentley ended up higher ranked because when you've been committed for a year, they don't talk about you as much and think about you as much. They don't. Go and look at who has a better season this year. I saw Bentley twice in person. I like him. I think he does a lot of the same things that John Mateer does. It works in 4A in Texas. You can get away with some of that shit. You're not going to get away with it in the SEC. We're not. I don't. Stroud was ineffective and a turnover machine. D'Amico should have put in Mills and didn't. Right. And if you just go to him there, let's just say if it's handled correctly, and again, I can sit here and go and talk about Arbuckle, and I just told you how I feel about that. But guess who's responsible for that ultimately? It's Brent Venables' football team. It's his football team. If you go to Michael in the second half of that, maybe you win the game. If you go to him early in the second quarter, I think you do win the game. But let's say you don't. Let's say you still lose. Maybe you at least put some points up, I don't know. But let's say you still lose. And then you go, same thing happens as what happened with Mateer at the helm. Nothing changes. Let's just say that. You go and you beat South Carolina. Then you lose to Ole Miss. But that's another 3 weeks. And then you can bring him back healthy for that stretch run. And maybe he's not as indecisive and making bad decisions as he was because he was still trying to protect himself for a lot of that time. A lot of that time. Another 3 weeks of off time, bro. That broken thumb, it was quote unquote healthy, and we know it wasn't because they came back. They said it was healthy after the Red River game, but then they forgot they said that. And later on, BV's just like, yeah, well, we know he's not going to be fully healthy until the offseason. Well, duh. He wasn't healthy. We all know that now. We knew that then. All you had to do was watch. In the end, had you done that, I think you give him a better chance of not coming in there, and the bad habits got worse and worse and worse. I mean, we talk about his mechanics already aren't great. You add in that he's hurt, he's got a bum leg, he's got a bum thumb on your throwing hand, and the mechanics are really going to shit. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And that's the point. But if you give it time, though, that's the only thing I'm saying. Even if you want to stick with Mateer and you want to be one of those people that says you think Mateer's a better player, fine. I don't think you got a whole lot to stand on at this point because we haven't seen him be that. And you want to bring up Kent State? Michael Hawkins led 5 straight scoring drives against a Kent State team that wasn't as bad as everybody acts like it was. And Big Bill said we did a terrible job of protecting him. He still didn't have any turnovers. I don't know. Since Venables got to town, I don't remember ever whether it was under Levy or these two OCs, the past two OCs, that they've had 5 straight scoring drives in any game. In any game. Maybe the Temple game in 24, maybe. But most of that, I don't know. No, it didn't happen either because he couldn't hit a fucking third down in that game. So I don't really remember one. If it happened, it probably happened with Dylan Gabriel. Bognowski had something going on today. He couldn't make it in. The thumb ordeal is BB's fault. He's the head coach. He shouldn't have taken him out. He should have taken him out and really not play him at all. I agree. He gave that coordinator too much power. And deferred to him too much. And he admitted throughout the year that, Kevin Wilson's great to have there, but he doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. Man, bro, I hired you to break toes. Fuck it all up. If you're not going to do it, you need to let Kevin do it then. Oh. Well, I would hope it wouldn't get to that point. What was the medical staff doing? Yeah, there's another issue. Look, I think there's a lot of things that are conspiring to keep, but here's the point the only point I'm going to make. This was a missed opportunity and a squandered, not just missed, it was a squandered opportunity for Oklahoma in 2025. They could be playing today for the national championship. If they were just serviceable on that side of the ball. And at worst, you would have been serviceable with Michael Hawkins after he got hurt. And had you handled that well, you could have played both of them, not burned Hawkins' red shirt, and still been able to go back to Mateer and them be in a good position because he's not fucked up whenever you put him in. You realize he was hurt. He got hurt in the Temple game. I think he got banged up a little bit against Michigan. I know for damn sure by Temple he was, and then he broke his thumb in his very first SEC game. The questions about Mateer last year were he did all that shit in the Mountain West on a Pac-12 Mountain West schedule. What's he going to do in the SEC? Well, he got hurt immediately doing things that way. Now you come into this next season, and for all the Oklahoma creators that are out there telling you it's just going to be better because it is, there's no reason why it's not going to be. I got to ask you why. Because guess what? We know that if they do things the way that they did them last year and they let Mateer run like that, he's breakable. If you get him broken again and you have to go to a backup, do you think anybody in the room is as good as Michael Hawkins? If anybody says Bo Bentley, you better have some splaining to do. You better tell me why. Because expecting a true freshman to be ready to be the backup here, that's a lot of expectations to throw on that kid. I'm going to tell you another thing. He got himself hurt doing the same type of shit in the Texas 4A playoffs. He didn't finish the year. The scheme better not be the same. If it is, you may have squandered your best opportunity this past season, which is what I'm trying to get at. I love this freaking football team. Love it. I've always been a fan of Brent Venables. I got to tell you, though, for me to say I have faith in them doing what needs to be done to win the national championship, I can't tell you that I do. We're watching Curt Cignetti in year 2 at the worst program in college football history at this level take his team to the national championship game without the kind of players that they have at Oklahoma. That's all I can really say. We'll see what they do tonight, but being here is enough for me to say you got to get better. I understand that it's his first job as a head coach. There's a learning curve to it. I get that. This is year 5 you're going into. And if any side needed attention, we talk about so glad that he took over the defense. Did he need to, really? I mean, I get it. They were better. I think they were better anyway. They were just better. I don't think it was necessarily because he was calling it. And I do think he got in his bag at times and he was unbelievable because he's BV. I get that. If you can't trust the dudes that you have in there to run that shit so you can put some attention on the other side of the ball, then I don't understand. That feels more to me like reluctance to be your head coach and continue to just want to do things the way you do them as a coordinator. If you want to be a coordinator, cool. Don't take a head coaching job at Oklahoma. You have to be willing to do the things that winning requires, to quote you. And Dabo, I guess. Anyway, that's all I really want to say. I'll see what you guys are saying. Yes, they do. I agree with that. Run the fucking ball. What do you mean? What do you mean they couldn't really use the transfer portal? Indiana was number 1 in the transfer portal ranking. No, number 2. They finished number 2 so far. They added 17 dudes, and they had a high average. Average player rating on the guys that they had coming in was 12 points higher than the guys that left. Only Texas Tech had more, had a better transfer portal. In Miami, let's see where Miami's. They're in the top 30, and they had a high. They only lost 8 players and brought in 4, and their player rating 6 points higher than what the guys that left. Yeah, no, it didn't hurt them. Not if they're running like that. Yep, you're right. Mm. But see, and that's something that you look at. Like, I don't blame John Mateer for that. You've already been with these guys for 3 years, and they haven't fixed your mechanics. What the fuck is Coach Kuzieski doing? Why is he there? What needs to change? I mean, I think that they need to. I think that Buckle has to sit down with, at the very least, Kevin Wilson and Big Bill, and come up with a running game plan that works. Not for John Mateer, for the running backs. And figure that shit out and hold him to it. I don't know how you accomplish that if you're Venables, but you can do it. You're the boss. You can make that happen. They have to do that. That services their defense as well, which helps him call a better defense and not be worn out at the end of the year. Sooner or later, that dam was going to break. And it did. Yeah, I hope so. Mm-hmm. They both got people out of the, including starting quarterbacks. And that's another thing that worries me about Oklahoma. Look, I like the additions that they made, but you didn't get anybody to compete with Mateer. And listen, for the people that are going to say when you pay that kind of money for a quarterback, you're not going to get competition, I point you to Baton Rouge. They got Sam Levitt. They got Longstreet, Tucson Longstreet from USC, former 5-star quarterback. And then they got the kid out of Elon that everybody was hot for. 3 of them. Don't tell me it can't be done, because it can. Hawkins is going to do. I think that, and look, as far as Hawkins is concerned, that's over. There's nothing we can talk about with that. The point I was making with that is that, look, you don't have the same luxury of, if it ever had gotten to a point where you had to pull him out because he wasn't able to play, he wasn't able to say he breaks his leg or something like that last year and he can't play. Well, then you had Michael Hawkins to come in. And I know it would have pissed off a lot of people in Norman, but you would have had him. Now, because of the fact that you didn't, you're not hitting the portal on that. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying it's easy to go get somebody, but it can be done. And I understand the continuity, the call for continuity. I understand all of that. I get it. But what are I mean, we're going to continue doing continuity is continuing what you're doing already. The voices, everything. I don't know that I like it. I think I mean, no matter what, if they're going to do the things that it takes to win and to win big and possibly win a national championship, win the SEC, whatever, you're going to have to be able to run the football better. And that's not in the wheelhouse of what we've seen out of this guy. It's just not. Can it be done? Sure. Sure. Will they do what it takes to get it done? I don't know. They haven't. Even when you did things that worked, you didn't make them push you out of it. You didn't make anybody stop you before you stopped doing it. You just kind of forgot about it. Didn't have really a screen game to speak of. There were little things that never really worked, never really happened, never really got tried. And it's tough for you to expect it and it's not just because, again, I don't want this to sound like I'm just blaming Arbuckle because it's BV's team. And I feel like he's indifferent to the offense. And that's a problem. When you're struggling there, you can't be indifferent to it. You have to put focus on it. That's what has to happen. Focus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they also got, I think that the guys that they got in regular recruiting, a lot of those guys, they're expecting them to like contribute now. Jake Krell, I don't know. I think he's a third down guy for sure because he's got to put weight on. But look, I don't know. I think that they're the moves, and you saw it last year, the moves that they're making in the portal they're guys that they expect to come in and make a contribution yesterday. We heard what Mr. Mason was talking about it with with these wide receivers. He's not going to keep spending Nagy's not going to keep spending money on wide receivers out of high school and then not watch them play. Wide receivers, and you got to remember, this is one of my favorite lines that I've heard out of Mr. Mason. You hear this a lot when it comes to receivers and running backs. If your dog's gonna bite, they bite as a puppy. Let's find out. Put the fuckers in and let's see. It wasn't even just that. You didn't even really have a wide receiver rotation. Whoever started the game off as their three or four wide receivers that they were going to use, those are the dudes that played. They didn't rotate them. It wasn't an injury thing. You got Keontae's got hurt. Obviously Giovanni got hurt at the start of the year. Giovanni got good at the end of the year, and I feel like it sounds like he was kind of pushed out. Which is wild to me because he was getting better at the end of the year. And was he what I saw somebody just talking about we only had 200 and something yards and X amount. Dude, he didn't play that much. His first action was against Kent State. And then what was it? He didn't really play very often. At the end of the year, he was in the rotation a lot. And John Mateer missed his ass a lot. And I don't know how you miss it because he's even bigger in person than he looks like on the television screen. He's a big dude. I watch him have a really good season at Cincinnati. I get it. It's the Big 12, but I'm telling you, if he's fully healthy, he's a problem. I'm not saying you had to keep him. I'm not saying you did. I want to see what Elijah Thomas is about. I want to see what Manny Choice is about. But I wanted to see what Ivan Carrion and shit was about too. And Ivan Carrion apparently isn't even going to stay playing football. I'm hearing he's going to the damn oil field with his pops. What the fuck? Dude is 6'7", and I've never seen him drop a football. Why? The Zions, Reagans, and Kearney? Dude. Zion Kearney, shout out to him. He's on it. He got on at Wisconsin. Good for him. He should play. He'll get to play. I'd like to have seen more of them, and apparently that's what Nagy wants to. So the guys that they brought in, they're expecting them to contribute. And I think going out and getting a guy like Parker Livingston is a big deal. You know, I think that Trell from Virginia liked him a lot as well. I think that was important for Oklahoma as well. Yeah, getting that kid from Tennessee. I know everybody wants to talk about he's the kid that dropped that ball. He's a stud though. He's an elite recruit according to Rivals. That was big. You got 3 of those cats. I love the Bishop Thomas move. But yeah, with Parker Livingston, then you've got obviously Trell Harris, dude. He was a bad dude, man. Those were important ads, but you need those other guys to step up now. Keeping Isaiah Satania, look, that was huge, man. Huge. You paid a pretty penny to do it. But I think you're going to have to see them actually go to some kind of it's going to have to be some kind of a rotation, though. Yeah, I think so, too. Oh, yeah. No, I was just talking about, like, while the portal was opened up or whatever. Yeah, you're right about that. You can get them anytime you need them. It is fucking cold, Johnny boy. Ridiculous. Well, okay. Yeah, after what you saw last year, I don't disagree with this, but I'm telling you that doesn't mean the right amount of money signals that maybe you're ready to come off of him. But I mean, look, I feel like the plan here is hope when it comes to that situation. Because they don't really have any other plan. I mean, at the moment, yeah, you're right. They're kind of in a situation that all you can do is hope. And hope is not a plan, but that's all they can do. Because you're right. When you pay him what you did and you prove that you're not even willing to go to a guy that walks into West Virginia and probably shout out to Michael Hawkins. I think he's going to have a hell of a year. He's going to have a hell of a year. I mean, look, you say what you want about Rich Rod. This kind of quarterback in his offenses works. He's liable to have a monster year, guys. And he deserves every second, every bit of it. This is some bullshit. What the hell I'm doing out here in this damn cold? I'm about to go down south, boys. Fuck out of here. I got a mobile studio and I'm stuck in this shit. No. What am I doing? What am I doing? Yeah, bro. And then we get tornadoes. Fuck that shit. Yeah. Yeah. Look, look, for that matter, I'm going to tell you that the expectation, I don't know what it is inside of. I'm not going to tell you that Bo Bentley is looked at as the backup in the building. I'm just telling you what you see on Twitter all day long and what you've heard from a lot of these other OU content creators is that they expect Bo Bentley to be the backup, not Whit Neubauer, not Jet New, not. I mean, you know what I mean? Uh, I I'm just that's a lot of expectations to put on that kid just because he's a high 4-star kid. And he's coming in. I mean, he got here yesterday. We hadn't even seen him on the field yet against college level talent. And that's the expectation. And I think that's expecting a lot. Now, I think that Witt can throw the shit out of the ball. I don't have a problem with Witt. Do I think he's as good as Michael Hawkins? I do not. Do I think Jet New is? I do not. I think Jet New may be better than people think he is or realize that he is. And he's definitely one of Buckle's guys, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to play him in that situation. But I think you damn well better have a real competition somewhere and not just anoint your backup too. If we know there's not going to be a competition for the starting gig, there damn sure better be one for the backup because chances are you're going to need them. And it's tough to expect a true freshman to lead you to especially when you don't. What we've seen from you is that you're quarterback heavy. He's got to do so many things in this offense. Is Bryce Underwood, they run the football at Michigan. He can develop and not be rushed into it. I think at times they didn't let him do enough at Michigan. I'll say that. But he's also better than Bo Bentley. And not taking any shots at Bo. I think that Bo's going to be a good football player. I think it's going to take some time. And I think it's not conducive for you winning a national championship if you and we know that Mateer is breakable. It's concerning, man. It's just concerning. That's all I'm saying. Elite blocker. Okay. He definitely is. And so is, hey, bro. I think that the guys that they brought in, even Rocky Beers does a really good job blocking. But I would say, Hayden Hansen, that dude's an elite blocker too. Look, he was clearing a pathway through Texas's guys. Colin Simmons didn't have his way with him. He kind of dominated their ends, but when Hayden was in there, he was clearing a pathway for Jaden Ball. He had a great game. He's another one of those guys that's considered elite by rivals. It's definitely going to, and they need that. They definitely need that, brother. But why would you, Stephen G, this is the same thing that they said about, that we were talking about with Michael Hawkins. Like, why do you believe this? Why? Explain this to me. Is this something you're hearing? Is this, why? Why do you believe that? What could possibly make you think that Bo would be ready to be long-term starting football games in the SEC as a true freshman? What did you see? What have you heard that's telling you that that's the case? Because I don't believe it. I don't. Because, listen, I watched him play this year. I watched him play last year. Yeah, he's got great numbers. 70% shit don't really matter. If you're throwing a bunch of short balls, and they do that a lot, you can manipulate that shit. And those wow throws that we all love to see on their highlight film where they're running right and throwing left and shit like that over the middle, and they don't get away with that in the SEC. You're gonna have to fix that problem. I think that he can play. I think that expecting him to come in and be the guy is a lot. I just think it's a lot. That's what it's just concerning for me, man. I think that they missed a real big opportunity. They squandered away a big opportunity this season. And you got to hope that things are look, I think they did a great job getting tight ends and adding some guys up front that should help. But it's only really going to help if you change that scheme up. It's only going to help if you can change up that scheme. And not put it on because if Mateer gets hurt, I think you're in deep shit. No, it is not. You have to hope that again, hope is not a plan, but yes, that's what we saw a lot of. You have to hope that that's not who it is, but what I'm getting at is that Mateer, if he goes down again and he really goes down, they don't have the luxury of a guy that could come in and play. Maybe, and you know what? Maybe Bentley will be ready. Maybe he will. There's indications that I think he's very similar to Mateer, and I just don't know that he's going to be ready. I wouldn't expect that from him. I think that's a lot to expect. I would definitely go with Witt. If it's me, I'm going with Witt. He's played in big games in the SEC. I mean, he played against Alabama and I think he had almost 300 yards in that game against Bama. When he was at, what was it, whatchamacallit? Where'd he come from? Where was Witt at? Kennesaw? Was it Kennesaw? They haven't. Mid-level transfer is cheaper. I give you that. They haven't done it yet. They hadn't, but you're right. Here's the thing: is right now has been the time. It's the time for those starters and all that stuff. Chances are they could make that pickup before the spring gets here. Okay, cool. I hope so, because I just don't. I mean that would tell me that you at least have a plan, and that you're not thinking with your, you're using your brains a little bit. Because I don't think that you can. I think that you're setting yourself up for failure if everything doesn't go right. And everything doesn't go right in the SEC. Mercer's who it was. That's right. What? A missing scissor lift. Tweakers I'll just go around close by, man. They'll be driving that fucker on the street, Dilligaff. Tweakers will be driving that fucker. Where's it at? Where are you at? What part of town? That's some funny shit. They're probably cruising that motherfucker to the store to get a 40. Oh, that's some funny shit. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you on this. It's concerning to me because I mean, and whatever you want to say about Hawkins and whether he was ready or not, and that's debatable among fans. I mean, I don't know why you would debate it, but people do. He had played in SEC football games and won them before. You know what I mean? and almost came back. It was a terrible deficit he got stuck in the Tennessee game. They couldn't stop him. You know, hell, he was 21 for 30 against Texas, and they with the worst game plan I've seen with 2 weeks to go to like put it together. Awful game plan Seth Luttrell had. Awful. Ugh. It wasn't about money, Will Hawkins. He was getting paid too. That's the people that talk about the money stuff. Now they paid Mateer a lot of money, but Hawkins was over $1 million. I promise you that. He was getting paid. He wanted to play though. And when you won't even like pull him when they need him, why would you stay? Why would you stay? It doesn't have anything to do with the money. It wasn't about money. Yeah, no doubt. Gilligaff, where are you at? Where you lost your scissor lift? That's so funny. Abilene. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely that's what it is. You know it is. Yeah, go look at the nearest convenience store for finding them. I bet you they do. Some bitches. Probably drove it right down the road. Oh my God. Yeah, me too. Yeah, true Hokie. My man, I love that. That's smart thinking. Hey, okay. I'll add that today. I will add that to. I'm gonna buy one too. I'm gonna have one sent to me. Yeah, he does. He's not a dual threat. No. No, he can throw it though. He can throw it though. And he's a big guy. He can see over the line for sure. You know? Little skinny. You don't want him running. But he gets the ball out fast, it could work out. And the definitely the RPO would go out with it with with Mateer. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be really good, man. I think that West Virginia. I'm going to be. It's hard for me to root for West Virginia, but not this year. I'll be rooting for him. I think he's going to have a hell of a year, and Malik too. I think Malik. I mean, Zach Alley got him a elite level defensive back. I think that worked out really well for them. He does. 10 numbers breaking down the 2026 college football transfer. 26, the portal had one main window for players to enter, second to the 16th, and one after tonight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. They're going to take it from existing power lines, Andrew. Oh, Lord have mercy. Funny shit, bro. Yeah, he can spin it, bro. He can. Yeah. That's what I was saying. He had a big day against Bama in that game. I mean, all right. Small extra window from the 20 to the 24th for the teams that were still in it, correct. They'll still have time. Mm-hmm. No, the RPO is not going anywhere. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't run it ever at all. It's almost like the whole. I mean, look, we used to talk with Lebby. It was the jet sweep that he never built off of. right? It was always the jet sweep. There was never a vertical option to it. You didn't have, where you fake it the jet sweep and hand it off to the running back instead, on like a counter move or something like that. There's a lot of things you could have done with that. A vertical pass to the tight end, a vertical pass to a receiver. There's lots of shit you could do, but if you're going to have that, you have to build off of that. That's the first play. Then you have to build from that action. That's what competent offense is that you have whatever it is that you're doing, you have to build from it. And with the RPO, you have to make the right decisions. And you got to be able to like read it as you get to the line. And then if they switch, you got to know whether or not, that's why you still read it during the action, right? But you're not seeing it. He struggled to make the correct decision. Jackson Arnold struggled to make the correct decision with it the year before, and he did this year too at Auburn. You have to make the right decision. And we haven't seen that from either of the last two quarterbacks at Oklahoma. So it's understandable why everybody's like, fire that bitch into the sun. We're not getting it. So. Oh, I love it. I hope the best for him, man. That's all I want now at this point. We can lament it all day long about him not being here anymore, but he's gone. And so we just need to wish him the best. Had to get it off this data center site, but I don't doubt that the contractor didn't pay the bill and it got repoed. Ah, that happened. I can see that. They're going to come and pick that bastard up. For sure. Oh, yeah, I think so too. That's what I was getting at whenever I answered the question that he was bringing up. I don't think that they were. Look, I think here's the thing. You look at the rankings and you can look at it a lot of different ways. If you were number one in there, now Indiana was in the top. They're the number 2 team in the portal, and Tech is number 1, and they were both in the playoff. And now Indiana's playing for the title. A&M was in the playoff. They're at number 3, I think. Louisville, no. Virginia Tech, they had to get heavy in the portal. They were terrible. LSU, they had to be heavy in the portal. Texas, they didn't get as many. They got quite a few, though. 16, lost 25. But their ads, really good ads. They had some good ones. But like Houston, they got 17. Notre Dame's in the top 10, but they only got 7 guys. It's hard. I think that may be the most that Notre Dame's gotten in the portal since it started, because it's hard to transfer to Notre Dame with their academic stuff. You almost have to be a grad. But like UCLA, Arkansas, they had to replenish. UCLA had to replenish. We're all talking top 15. Florida, they had plenty to go and get. Wisconsin, replenish. BYU, they're in the top, but only because they got good guys in the portal. They only got 8 dudes and only lost 13. Vandy's up there in the top 15, but they got 15 guys. They lost 13. Clemson, holy shit. They brought in 10 dudes in the portal. That's unbelievable. But a lot of these teams, the rankings are what they are. You look at Okie Light. Okie Light's in the top 25. They're 23rd. They had to get 50 dudes. 48 is what they're showing. But I heard Mountaineer Paul and Cody was on with him the other day. Thank God for that. He's still not doing well. I talked to him yesterday. He's okay. He's alive, but he's struggling a bit with some stuff. A lot of pain. And it's tough time for Cody Light, but he was on there for a while talking with Mountaineer Paul about they've got 50 dudes I think they brought in. 50. So they're high up in the rankings, but that's because they were 1-11 and had to wholesale change that shit out. Poor North Texas. Wonder where they're at. Guys, they're only showing the top 70 on there. North Texas on it. But a lot of a guy like teams like that, they're going to have to be that's secondary. They're after the big boys eat, then they'll be able to fill up the rest of their team after the other signing period. Because you still have the high school signing day in February too. All right. What else is I going to bring up? We've been going for a while now. I got to I'm going to go to the restroom real quick. So check out this MyBookie commercial. Hey, Jason Watkins here with Hall of Fame College Football. And if you are ready to back your favorite team, the Sooners, and fade that Texas hype train every Saturday this fall, there's only one place to do it, MyBookie. Right now, you can double your first deposit up to $1,000 when you sign up at hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. That's hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. Yep, 100% deposit bonus, and it takes less than 5 minutes to get started. Whether you're betting college football, rolling the dice in the online casino, or dropping a 10-leg parlay on SEC Chaos, MyBookie has everything you need. Bet anytime, anywhere, on the go, at the tailgate, or yelling at the refs from your couch. Just don't talk trash. Put your money where your mouth is. Hit that link, hofmedia.us/mybookie1000, and get your deposit bonus today. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie and Hall of Fame College Football. Are you tired of your game day gear looking like it's stuck in the offseason? Well, step up your fandom with Hall of Fame College Football's official Fanatics partner store. Whether you're a diehard Oklahoma Sooners fan like myself, bleeding crimson and cream, or you rep another one of the SEC's heavy hitters, Fanatics has you covered. Shop thousands of officially licensed hats, jerseys, sideline polos, and exclusive championship merch from the entire Power 4 and Group of 6 too, all shipped directly to your doorstep and fast. Want to gear up like your favorite coaches and players? Are you looking for that perfect tailgate tee or a statement piece for your man cave? Fanatics is your one-stop shop for authentic college football gear from everybody that plays the game. So do yourself and your team a favor. Click our link in the description or simply log on to hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. And you can shop everything that you want for the best prices of the day right on our Fanatics partner page. Whew. All right, I'm back. Come back. You didn't like the portal, huh? Lifetime honor, never had anything repoed. That's good living. All right. Let's move on from this conversation, man. I'm the only one that ever talks about it. I'm the Mr. Negativity dude out here lately. But you guys know I'm going to tell you the truth about what I think and what I've seen and what I've heard. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. You know, I get it, but it is what it is. The Cam money. Listen, I heard that they were interested in Cam Newton. I just don't think they were interested in him in the amount of money that he was going to require. I don't like it that he went to Texas. I'll say that. But I mean, and guys, again, one more time, just to bring back up, make sure you guys get over there and check out the SEC Gauntlet with me and Marcus Dent. Our first episode's up. We did about an hour and 20 minutes and stuff, and I felt like it was good. It's an explanatory of kind of what we're going to do, but a lot of it's going to depend on what do you guys want to see as SEC fans. And I know not everybody's an SEC fan in here, and I appreciate everybody that comes in. But I plan to do a lot more national college football stuff and being in there. And I've got some opportunities with 365 and those guys to kind of do that. And I'll be traveling around the SEC, checking out some of the best games, and you know, and not necessarily that are just against SEC teams. I would figure that if the game of the week is going to be, um, I mean, week one, it might be go to Austin and watch Ohio State and Texas. Um, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that a whole lot yet, but I think that that's a really good opportunity. It'd be fun to watch. To go to DKR and talk some shit. Anyway, but I mean, of course, week two. I mean, and in week two with Oklahoma at Michigan, I think that that's shaping up to be a much better game than I think it would have been if Sharon Moore was still the coach, and the way they were headed. I think that Witt's, Coach Witt is. I think that's a steadying force at Michigan. I think that's an underrated move, man. An underrated move on their part. But some good games. I mean, when you start looking at some of these things, but get over there and check it out, man, and support the show. And I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm excited about the future and stuff. And I mean, I think I like to be able to, I'm a film junkie guy. I like to sit and watch games. I mean, I watch games after games on games on games, man. So, I've rewatched pretty much every Oklahoma game. I at least saw it twice. And most of them I saw multiple times. So, it's not like I'm just, I don't pull all this shit out of thin air. I know that. But I've watched all the SEC pretty much. I think there's a couple of teams that I haven't seen all their games. But, we talk about a lot of look, I think Coach Levy and those guys, I mean, and shout out to them and Zion Reagans. We were talking about him. He's over there at Mississippi State along with Isaiah Dent. They both went over there. Kendall Dobie, it's kind of becoming Oklahoma South over there, which is great. I'm excited for that, and with Isaiah being able to work with Phil Lodeholt, I mean, I think that's an extension of being with Big Bill. It looks like he's got a pretty good shot of being a starter there. I think offensively they're going to do a good job under Leb. They are. Bringing back Zach Arnett was huge for them. In my opinion, I'm surprised that he was willing to do such a thing, but coming back as the defensive coordinator, he's a really good defensive mind. I think that's going to help them a lot. And Kamario Taylor is the real deal. The guy's 6'4", 6'5". He's a big dude that's got speed and he's got a big ass arm. Kamario Taylor's a big deal. And Marcus was talking about he thinks the up and coming quarterbacks are both in the state of Mississippi, with Deuce Knight and Kamario. And I mean, I don't know how hot of a take that is. I think it is because people haven't paid attention. Those dudes are legit players, man. They're legit players and they have an opportunity. We'll see kind of what happens. And it looks like if Chambliss ends up getting, they put in that injunction, I would guess that they would probably rule in their favor. It feels like Chambliss is coming back, but it's you could see Deuce going and playing under that, knowing that it's just one more year with Chambliss, and you get an opportunity to kind of work in the system, and you're the guy. They're working towards you as the guy, and they had to pay him to get him. So I think that's a big deal. I think there's definitely yes. Yeah. There's going to be guys in the portal. I think that there's still time for the playoff teams, guys, to go in the portal. Some of those dudes got in the portal before the playoffs were up and still played. There was that running back from Oregon that he was in the portal and played. But yeah, I think, and I mean, you know that Miami's still in on there's who did they end up getting at quarterback? And I wish Hammer was still here. I have to go and look. They only added 4 dudes so far. So um Jarquez Carter out of Ohio State, that was huge for them. The D lineman, Cam Vaughn out of West Virginia, Vandrevius Jacobs out of South Carolina, another wide receiver, and then Omar Thornton. They haven't gotten a quarterback yet, but you know they're heavy and gonna get somebody. Yeah, dude, Chambliss is a bad dude, bro. He's a bad dude. And that makes you wonder, like, but like I said, with LSU, that's wild to me. Like that conversation, I don't know if we spend enough time on it. And we were kind of trying to get a lot out in one show, and I'll just say that I think that the show, if we when we're going to end up being more focused on certain things in the off season, and one thing at a time type of deal, and then we'll have a kind of a basic format that we go by when the season gets here. But I think you can kind of dive into some of these teams a little one at a time, and or two at a time, and do some different stuff and feature some of these guys. But I think that Chambliss coming back, that will it'll keep the power in the shifting away from there, because Chambliss is going to be a good player, man. And I believe they got Kewan Lacey coming back as well. I know that they still are going to lose some of those guys to LSU. I think that LSU is probably going to be a year away. I mean, maybe not if Sam Levitt's ready to rock and roll and they're able to add I don't doubt that they'll be very good on the offensive side. How good are they going to be on defense? They were really good this past year. And I don't know that they lost a ton there. Offensively, their offensive line is still a weak spot, and that's what everything that I'm seeing coming out of Baton Rouge is that. But I think Ole Miss is still going to be pretty good. I think that right now, looking as we look at it right now, Georgia, I believe that look, they're number 50, or they were number 50 in the transfer portal, because they're not losing a ton. You're losing Zachariah Branch to the league, and he's ready to go. But, I don't think that's – look, a receiver for them, they haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver in forever. I don't think they give a shit about that. They're going to run the ball, right? But you've got Gunnar Stockton coming back. Gunnar Stockton proved a lot to me this year. I think that Georgia remains really good. Alabama is a question. They lost a lot of dudes, man. A lot of dudes. And then the guys they were trying to bring in, they had Hollywood locked up, and then he hadn't signed yet. He ends up going to Texas. Dalen Smothers. Hate that. For Oklahoma fans, got to hate that. Then you've got guys like with Cam, it sounded like they weren't willing to fork up the same amount of money that Texas was, and they lost him too. This is why they lose Isaiah Horton. They lost a large amount of receiving talent. Watch, let me go, and they're not looking good where it's different. They're ranked pretty close to where Georgia is, but Georgia wasn't heavy in the portal. Alabama's, they've had to bring in 16 guys. Oops. Let's see. They lost Richard Young, running back. Jordan Renault was a big loss. They lost him to Ole Miss. They lost Cam Calhoun to Ohio State, cornerback. That's a big loss for them in that secondary. James Smith to Ohio State as well. Quay Russaw to Ohio State. That's a huge loss there. Jalen Hill, wide receiver, another one. They lost him to SMU. They're showing him as an elite guy. Keon Keeley, edge rusher, lost him to Notre Dame. But Isaiah Horton, he's ranked 89. He's got an 89 rating on Rivals. That's tough. You're losing him to A&M. So they're losing guys to other SEC programs. It's starting to be. You got to feel a little shaky about Alabama right now. I don't know. I think this is a key year. This is an important year for if you're Kalen DeBoer. This is an important year, man. You lose Kelby Collins, you lose Micah DuBose to another. I mean, these are both of those guys to other SEC programs. Noah Carter, the edge rusher guy. I mean, he's an 88 ranking. He's going to Georgia Tech. Cole Adams to Vanderbilt. Formby, one of their best tackles. I mean, Wilkin Formby, he's going to A&M. Or no, he's not the better one. Alinen, Olas Alinen, 6'6", 301. He's going to Kentucky. A lot of dudes they lost, man. A lot of dudes they lost. And who do they bring back? I mean, so far, let's talk about the guys that they're bringing in. They got Imazulu from South Carolina, Terrence Green on the D line from Oregon. That's a good one. Ethan Fields for the O line. That's a good one. Nick Brooks from Texas. 6'7", 360. Where the hell's that guy from? CP? I don't even know where that is. Canada. It's a Canada kid. Another lineman, Racing Delgatti. He's high ranked. Caleb Smith on the D line from Washington. Noah Rogers, that wide receiver out of NC State. He's good. Ty Haywood. They did a good job with getting Ty Haywood out of Michigan. I mean, maybe it'll work itself out, and maybe these are guys that more fit Kalen DeBoer. But I think it's worth questioning whether or not they're going to continue to be very good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this much: where they're good to go at quarterback because even if they go with Mack, they could go with Austin Mack, and he looked like he looked better than Ty Simpson looked, especially in that game. But I mean, Keelan Russell is the guy. He's their guy, and he looks like he's going to be real good. So I would tell you, I feel like that's the situation. They're good there. Yeah, Cole Adams. I like Cole Adams. He's good, man. Youngsters trying to get you to play full court basketball. I said, hell no, not at 50. You out there try, hey man, that's you will blow out a fucking knee, Mars. Get your ass on the golf course. It's cold, bro. Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't surprise you, Stephen G. Johnny boy. It's all good, bro. I thought the Mensa deal was done. Oh, yeah, that's right. Darian Mensa, that's right. He is supposed to be going down there. That's right. But he's got some kind of contract with Duke, though, that supposedly he wasn't supposed to be able to get out of. We know better than that at this point. But it sounds like Duke is going to try to hold him to it. But so far, they don't have him listed on 3 in Rivals. So, but I did see I read something about that a little while ago, actually. Now that you find that, it's on ESPN. Oh. Mensa, yeah. Mensa's candidate. Duke quarterback, late add to the portal. He's in the portal, according to that was this morning, or no, that was 3 days ago. So Okay. Miami loses the expected favorite. The Hurricanes have signed transfer quarterbacks in consecutive years, Cam Ward and Carson Beck, and have not landed one during the 2-week transfer window that opened on the 2nd. Mensa had decided December 19th to return to Duke. He was the number 5 in Mel Kiper's quarterback rankings for the 2026 draft before his decision. I thought that was John Mateer. Yeah, entering the second year of a 2-year deal with Duke that would pay him up to $4 million in 2026. If Mensa leaves, sources told Pete Thamel, that the contract grants the university his exclusive name, image, and likeness rights, which would prevent Mensa from earning revenue sharing money at his next school unless the Blue Devils terminate their deal. There is not a specific buyout amount in Mensa's contract with Duke, sources told Thamel. Oh, that's squirrely. That's squirrely, man. More to come. More to come. More to come on that. We'll see what happens with it. Mm. That's some funny shit. Yeah. You know, I think that is. I think this was. I think you have to take the job at Alabama if you're Kalen DeBoer whenever it was offered, because it's. I mean, it's Bama. The question is why they chose him. And I'm not telling you that I think that Kalen's a bad coach, because I don't think that he is. I just don't know that he's a great fit there. So I'm struggling to understand, like, they say the offensive line is not built the way that they would have built it, and they've had, a Joe Moore O-line before at Washington, right? But it's not that they have smaller, quicker dudes that are going to be, more. It's just different the way they do it, right? Okay, well, it, but then you go and you not only that, but then he goes and gets in Kane Womack, and I think Kane Womack's done a really good job, but nothing that they did on defense is like what he does. Really heavy in he's really heavy with does a lot more zone concepts than anything else. And it was a man-to-man team with Nick Saban. That's just the way they were. And so to me, it just seems weird, man. It just seems weird that was their decision. And, I get it that you're going to make a switch from maybe he was their bridge guy. I don't know. I mean, we won't know until this all plays itself out however it does, right? But maybe he was the bridge guy knowing that nobody really wants to follow Nick directly, right? So you're not going to get another Nick disciple to come in behind him. I don't know why, but okay, cool. But it feels like you would have wanted to go get, I mean, could you not have got Kurt Signetti? Because I feel like you could have. Right? I feel like you could have. Now, would that have pissed off Alabama? Probably. Probably. They would have been in better shape. They would have been in better shape. Because he's gonna run things much in the same way that it was being run by Nick beforehand. I think it would have been obviously a better fit. Would it have worked out? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it just, and I don't know that this is not going to work out for Kalen. I'm not speaking in definitives here because I don't know. We don't know. Nobody does. But at the end of the day, it's definitely a tough job to take on. It just doesn't feel like he's not. He's not from the South. That makes it hard. The guys that they've lost, it's almost felt like it's just I don't know that the fan base hasn't I mean, by and large, that he hasn't been accepted by the fan base. That doesn't necessarily matter. If you win, they'll accept you, right? I don't know. I don't know. It feels like it was a weird, and maybe they already knew that It's felt like they wanted him from the start, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe they probably knew for a couple of weeks that he was going to do that, and they had already reached out and gotten their nose from the people that they gotten their nose from. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. That's true. Yeah. Well, they did a good job. I mean, look, the Pac-12 was smoke and mirrors, wasn't it? You know what I mean? It's like I would say the same thing about Oregon. I mean, yeah, they beat Ohio State last year in the regular season, then they got the shit kicked out of them this year or in the playoff in the Rose Bowl. I mean, got the brakes beat off him. That's really his only big time win that I can recall. I guess you could say the conference championship game, but Penn State loses those games all the time under Franklin. They did. They lost them all. If you were ranked in the top 10, you beat their ass. That's just, I mean, so I don't look at that as like a huge accomplishment for Dan Lanning either. I think Dan Lanning is a lot of smoke and mirrors if we're being real. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think their preparation for big games sucks. I got ripped for saying that shit last couple of weeks too, when I said it before the Indiana game. That if I'm an Oregon fan, I'm hoping that we get a better preparation than what we've seen for him in big games. And they're like, "Oh yeah, Texas Tech wasn't a big game." Well, it was a big game in name, but I mean, if you with similar talent, he doesn't win. He doesn't seem to win. Michigan accidentally got the guy they needed. I agree with you 100%, Dave. 100%. Oh yeah, he will. Yeah, I think it was a great move. We were talking about Utah on the last show that I did on Friday. I think it was Friday. Maybe it was Wednesday. No, Wednesday because I didn't do it Friday. And Utah's a weird fucking thing with me. They were pushing him out in favor of their head coach to be. And now they're bitching that he got he went and got his coaching staff to go with him to the best job, to the best opportunity he could have possibly gotten as a head coach from coming from where he's coming from. And he did great things at Utah. I'm not going to say he didn't. But the way that they're treating Kyle Whittingham on the way out is wild to me. Wild to me. He's easily the best coach you've ever had. But I mean, you can say Urban for the time that he was there. I wouldn't argue that overall, like what Urban did. I mean, yeah, he was great. But he propelled to other things. This guy easily is the winningest coach of all time. They were able to go and recruit at a level in play. Like he has a pipeline into Dallas to get guys that kind of fly under the radar but can play fucking football. They play really good defense. They run the hell out of the football. They've had really good quarterbacks that have come and gone and played there. They've been good. They won 2 Pac-12 championships when they came from the Mountain West. But all of the things that you can say that he brought them to, all that goodwill and shit, they have pissed it down their legs in the last 3 or 4 years over the move to the Big 12 and now this stuff with him taking the job at Michigan when they pushed him out because they were saying it was time for him to go ahead and retire. because they hadn't climbed that mountaintop yet. This is the perfect example of fan bases expecting too much too soon. At a place like Utah, they act like they've been a power program for 10 fucking minutes, and they acted like they looked down their nose at the Big 12 when the Pac-12 was not going to be around anymore. Pretending they were Stanford and shit like that. The fuck? The stupidest shit ever. They were good until he took their players. What did they expect him to do? What would you have him do if you're Utah? I'm just going to leave him alone? Listen, man, if you're going to a place like Michigan, that's one of those not for long jobs. Come in here and don't win. See how that goes. What was he not going to? He wasn't going to come in and get his coaches that he trusted and he built his program with? Get the fuck out of here. That's correct. Loyal to, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. More 4 and 5 star dudes on Michigan this year than he will have ever had. Absolutely. But he was able to go and build a culture there at Utah of winning and toughness and all that other stuff. And they play the right way. You don't hear about dirty shit or whatever coming out of the program that they're doing things ugly or whatever. He had kind of taken on that asshole Utah thing the last couple of years. But I mean, you work for that group of assholes. They have not ingratiated themselves in the Big 12. They were the biggest ones calling it the truck stop conference and all that shit. I'm telling you, Utah fans, I used to didn't think about them at all. Now I can't stand them. And I don't have a reason to care about the Big 12 anymore. I'll always be a Big 12 guy because I covered the Big 12 for the better part of my career. I know all these schools. And for them to act like they were any better was laughable. Laughable. Particularly when you were losing your power teams out of your league. Acting like the Pac-12 was so superior to the Big 12 is their hubris is what killed the conference. They had a chance to kill the Big 12 off when Texas and Oklahoma got ready to leave. They turned their noses up at them on adding any of them. They could have added Oklahoma State, Tech, K-State, Kansas, and they implode the league. Baylor, implode the league. Instead, they turned their noses up and said they're not a good fit academically, whatever, because they weren't AAU. The fuck out of here. It's such a weird thing that they do. They're not moving the school. You're gonna play them in sports. And it made so little sense. I mean, they talked all that shit, and then one of the biggest ones that was doing all that was Stanford, of course. And now them and Cal are playing in the ACC. Tell me how that's a big fit. The fuck are we talking about? So wild. I've never understood any of that one. But the whole thing with Utah, and I mean, shame on them, man. It's ridiculous that that's how they acted. And to treat this guy, your legendary coach, he is your Newt Rockne. And this is how you're treating him as he gets to go out and finish his career in a situation where he might be able to play for a natty. What's up, Ginger? Oh, no. Prayers up for your mom. How's she doing? What's going on? Yeah, it was so stupid, Jimmy. So stupid. Yep. Yes, they did. The Big Ten. Yeah. And then the Pac-12. Texas kind of screwed that up, but they were all going to the Pac-12, but the Longhorn Network kiboshed that deal. And it's what ruined the Big 12, to be honest with you. They didn't have to go anywhere. But once Dan Beebe allowed that shit to go on, he knew about it. That's why he got shit canned pretty close after that. But they were always reactive, and Dan Beebe was in on it. Once that happened and you lose Nebraska and then A&M and Missouri and Colorado all in succession, boom, 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 and then you didn't add more teams to keep the conference strong, the end was in sight. It was always in sight. How they ever thought the Big 12 makes me laugh now that they bitch and complain about Texas and what happened there. They should bitch about Texas, but the Oklahoma part of it makes me laugh. Because the teams that came in to replace OU and Texas in the Big 12, Oklahoma vetted those teams and had them approved and ready to go for them to add them before, and they refused to do it, and they're still blaming everything on OU and Texas. You should have kept the conference strong. Not kept it at a 10-team league that couldn't compete. It was dumb. They made mistake after mistake there, but like literally, that's how really stupid the Pac-12 was. How really stupid the Pac-12 was, because the Big 12 before, and of course before, what's his name, Brett Yormark, it was reactive and they fumbled around and screwed everything up for years. For years. The Big Ten could have gotten them. The Pac-12 could have gotten them. The SEC did get them. What is she saying? Oh, wow. Is you? Oh, my gosh. Prayers up. Yeah, they are. They are. They are needy and demanding, no doubt. They are. Hey, listen, and make no mistake, they're already getting their way in the SEC, Dave. They are. That's why they got the cupcake schedule for 2 years, and Oklahoma got the fucking the gates of hell schedule for the first 2 years. It's wild. Yeah, no doubt. Prayers up for your moms. All right. All right, guys. Well, we've been going for a good while now. Let's see. Oh yeah, man. Almost 3 hours. A lot. Big Monday for Big Monday. Talked obviously about tonight. Big game tonight, man. I may jump on and do a quick recap if it's a great game to kind of see how it goes. But if not, we'll definitely be coming back at it in the next couple. I think I may do that. I may do something like that. It kind of depends on how everything is. Man, it's fucking cold out here today. Oh, but yeah, man, we'll definitely be getting back with you. Whether it's maybe tomorrow night, I'll go on by myself tomorrow night, or maybe get somebody else to come on with me. If not, but I may go on tonight. So we'll kind of see. Maybe I'll get no faking because he's Dave's a big. He likes that Indiana team and what they do. I like what they do. But we're gonna see what's up tonight, and maybe we'll be able to get Hammer to come in after the game's over. He's in the suite. Dude needs to send me some damn pictures. I bet that's badass. But yeah, listen, I think it ought to be a good game. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's a really good matchup. So, like to see kind of how that goes. I am excited about the new show, The Gauntlet. Thank you. When you're gonna have that up and going, we have one. It's posted now. There's one there ready. Me and Marcus Dent. We had our first show yesterday. It was a recorded show. Going forward on Thursday nights, we'll be doing the a recorded one. And then on Sundays, we're going to start doing live the SEC Gauntlet on Sunday nights. Whoa. We'll be doing live SEC Gauntlets on Sunday nights at 7 moving forward. But Thursday, there will be another one. It'll probably be a shorter one. The first one's kind of more introduction, and then we talked about a lot of different stuff. But, you know, just kind of setting up what we're going to be talking about coming up. But thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. Going for Indiana. Cool deal. Everyone have a good day. Stay warm. Hey, gonna try to, guys. Appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you hit that like button. Go over there and check it out. Go check out the Gauntlet, man. We're excited about it. And become a subscriber to Marcus's channel. Obviously, the Gridiron Insight is 365 Gridiron Insight. And Ole Miss 365, that's their new recruiting website that he and his partner Dave have opened. Dave's he owned the 247 site for Ole Miss for a long time. I definitely look. It's going to be a lot of fun there. And then shout out to the guys from Oklahoma again that have moved on to Mississippi State. Again, Zion Reagans, Kendall Doby, and Isaiah Dent going to be over there with Jeff Levy and the boys. So get over there and check out the show, though. We appreciate everybody coming in, and we'll see you all on the next one.